Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, Verse 9. Devahuti Ruvacha Prakrite Purusasyapi Latsanam Purusottama Bruhi Traranayorasya Sadasachat Yadatmatam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Devahuti said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, kindly explain the characteristics of the Supreme Person and His energies, for both of these are the causes of this manifest and unmanifest creation. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prakriti or material nature is connected with both the Supreme Lord and the living entities, just as a woman is connected with her husband as a wife and with her children as a mother. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that He impregnates Mother Nature with children, living entities, and thereafter all species of living entities become manifest. The relationship of all living entities with material nature has been explained. Now, an understanding of the relationship between material nature and the Supreme Lord is sought by Devahuti. The product of that relationship is stated to be the manifest and unmanifest material world. The unmanifest material world is the subtle Mahat Tattva, and from that Mahat Tattva, the material manifestation has emerged. In the Vedic literatures, it is said that by the glance of the Supreme Lord, the total material energy is impregnated, and then everything is born of material nature. It is also confirmed in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that under His glance, Adhyat under His direction and by His will, nature is working. It is not that nature works blindly. After understanding the position of conditioned souls in relation to material nature, Devahuti wanted to know how nature works under the direction of the Lord and what the relationship is between the material nature and the Lord. In other words, she wanted to learn the characteristics of the Supreme Lord in relation to the material nature. The relationship of the living entities with the matter and that of the Supreme Lord with the matter are certainly not on the same level, although the Mayavadis may interpret it in that way. When it is said that the living entities are bewildered, the Mayavadi philosopher ascribe this bewilderment to the Supreme Lord. But that is not applicable. The Lord is never bewildered. That is the difference between personalist and impersonalist. Devahuti is not unintelligent. She has enough intelligence to understand that the living entities are not on the level of the Supreme Lord. Because the living entities are infinitesimal, they become bewildered or conditioned by material nature. But this does not mean that the Supreme Lord is also conditioned or bewildered. The difference between the conditioned soul and the Lord is that the Lord is the Lord, the master of material nature, and He is therefore not subject to its control. He is controlled neither by spiritual nature nor by material nature. He is the supreme controller Himself, and He cannot be compared to the ordinary living entities who are controlled by the laws of material nature. Two words used in this verse are Sat and Asat. The cosmic manifestation is Asat. It does not exist. But the material energy of the Supreme Lord is Sat. or existing. Material nature is very existing in its subtle form as the energy of the Lord, but it sometimes manifests this non-existence or temporarily existent nature, the cosmos. An analogy may be made with the father and mother. The mother and the father exist, but sometimes the mother begets children. Similarly, this cosmic manifestation, which comes from the unmanifest material nature of the Supreme Lord, sometimes appears and again disappears. But the material nature is ever existing, and the Lord is the supreme cause for both the subtle and gross manifestation of this material world. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta.
The following is a class on the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 26th Chapter, Text number 9, given by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, recorded on December 21st, 1974, in Bombay, India.
And further description will be given from the verse number 10. If you like, you can read that. Or you can read this part of the 9th verse.
Prakriti, or material nature, is connected with both the Supreme Lord and the living entities, just as a woman is connected with her husband as a wife, and with her children as a mother.
Yes, this is a very nice example. This Prakriti, the mother, just like mother is woman, Prakriti, but her relationship with the husband is different from the relationship with her children. So both of them are Purusha, living entities, and this super soul or the Supreme Lord. They come to this material world, but the relationship is that the Supreme Lord is the controller of the material world. And the living entities, their control. This is the difference. One is controller and the other is control. The same woman, mother, she is working under the direction of the husband. That is one relationship. And she is taking care of the children and controlling the children. Although the medium is the same, but the relationship is different. In the Bhagavad Gita also it is said, Mama Maya, under my control. Maya dhakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunani kaunteya jagat parivat. We should understand this relationship. The material nature has got relationship with both God and the living entities. But the activities of the two living entities, namely the Anu and Vibhu, God is Vibhu or Prabhu, and living entity is Anu or servant, and the via media is the material nature. So we cannot control material nature. That is not possible. We are controlled. We are being controlled. Tibhi gunamai bhavai mohita na vijanati mami va paramambhaya. We are always being controlled. But the prakriti, material nature, is being controlled by the Supreme Lord. This is the difference. And unfortunately, sometimes we claim that we can control over, just like the scientists, they are trying to control over the material nature. That is not possible. You cannot control. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Daivi hi esa gunoi mama maya duratya. You cannot control. You shall be controlled, but you cannot control. The controller is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Maya dhakshina prakriti suyati. This is the relation. This is the characteristic. Two Purusas, one living entity and the Supreme Soul, Param Purusa or Purushottama. The Purushottama is the controller and we, ordinary living entities, we are controlled. Then how the living entity can be on the equal level with the Supreme Lord? That is not possible. Anyone who thinks like that, there is imperfect knowledge. There is not perfect knowledge. Abhishuddha Buddha, they have been described as Abhishuddha Buddha, imperfect knowledge. Buddhi means intelligence. They have no intelligence. We cannot say no intelligence, but Abhishuddha. Abhishuddha means it is not purified. Anyone who is claiming to be on the equal level with the Supreme, their intelligence is not yet purified. Abhishuddha Buddha, Jenneru Bindaka Vimukta Manina, Tai Astabhavat Abhishuddha Buddha. Because these Mayavadi philosophers, they have no knowledge of the Supreme Personality. They cannot believe that the absolute truth can be a person. They cannot believe it. And their knowledge is so poor, they cannot accommodate. Because as soon as they think of one person, they think that that person is equal with me. Otherwise they cannot think of person. So this is poor fund of knowledge. Therefore Krishna says, Nahang prakasa sarvasya jugumaya samavrita. It does not become manifest or visible to everyone. Then unto whom he is visible. And that is also stated in Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktya mam avijanati javan jaschami tat. So unless you take to this process of bhakti yoga, you cannot understand what is God. Then you will be misguided. So if you take Shivanmukhi hi jivado, you cannot understand God. But if you take to the devotional service, submissively, if you become submissive, surrender, and you render service to the Lord, then by His causeless mercy, He becomes revealed. Here I am, see, He talks. Tesham satadayuktanam bhajatam priti bhurva dadami buddhi yogantam. Then He gives intelligence. What kind of intelligence? Jenomam upajantiti, by which one can approach me. This intelligence is given to him. To whom? Tesham sadadayuktanam. 24 hours engaged in the service of the Lord. How? Priti purvakam, with love and faith. Not that official. Just like if I want a glass of water, one can give me, here is, take it. And one brings the same glass of water with love and devotion. So there is two differences. Krishna is not in want of anything from us. He is Purna. But if we offer him something with love and faith and devotion, then yes. That is the difference. Patram puspam phalam toyam jumi bhaktya prajachati. That is the real thing, bhakti. Otherwise Krishna is not hankering after your patram puspam. He has created patram puspam phalam toyam. He can enjoy. Why he should ask from me? But the real thing is bhaktya. It is an insignificant thing. But if you offer him bhaktya, with bhakti, devotion, faith and love, that he accepts. And if he continues to accept, then you can realize him. Bhaktya mama vijana, javan jaschami tattva. Otherwise, you cannot understand what is Krishna. So, we have come to this material world. Krishna is always anxious to get us back to home, back to Godhead. Therefore, he comes. Jada jada hi dharmasya glani bhavati. What is that dharma? That dharma is not this dharma, Hindu dharma, Muslim dharma. No. That dharma is sarva dharman parityajya mami kam saranam. In this way, our position, although we are both in this material world, one is the controller, one is the controlled, and the one who is controlled by the prakriti, by the material nature, if he accepts to be controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he is controlling by the material nature upon him, that is finished. No more control. Mami braja prapadante mayami. Thank you very much.